What is going on, everybody? It's Mike here. Welcome back to another video. Now, in today's video, I'm actually going to be explaining to you guys what my major is and why I chose to major in it. And just explaining, all about my major, because there's a lot of interesting things that can be talked about the major that I chose to major in. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. So, I chose to major in RPTA, which is short for Recreation, Parks, and Tourism Administration. Now, when you think that, you're thinking that it's, a really large term, and I feel like a lot of you guys are probably just like, well, what the heck is that? Well, actually, RPTA, I didn't know what it was until I started going to college here at Western Illinois. So, the one thing that I can explain about this is the easiest to explain about this is that if you look at any city, whether it be, Macomb, Illinois, which is where I am now, or let's just say Waukesha, Wisconsin, which is where I live back at home. If you look at any city, anything that is related to recreation, whether it be sports, whether it be outdoor activities like parks or like fishing or anything like that, like nonprofits that provide recreation, like the YMCA or certain gyms or nonprofits, anything that is related to recreation has to do something with the field of RPTA. Now, that might be interesting to think about for a lot of you, but a lot of you guys don't realize that there's a professional for RPTA in just about everything that you do, involved in about everything that you do. Whether you're going to, I'll give you an example. So there's commercial recreation, there's so that would be for profit. There's also nonprofit, and then there's community recreation and then campus recreation. I'll give an example of each. So community recreation, an example of that would obviously be like if you go to a park and there's a playground there, your kids can play on that. Or if you go to a park and there's programs like, let's just say there happens to be like a stargaze night where in the middle of the summer a city has some trained professionals that come out there and talk about constellations and then they look up in the stars. That's an example of community-based recreation, recreation that benefits community members. Campus recreation is different. That is recreation that benefits primarily students who go to that college campus, and then obviously staff, of course, would have access to that. So an example of that would be here at Western Illinois. We have what is known as I can't talk today. What is known as the Rec Center, which I'm pretty sure is short for Recreation Center. But basically in there we got gyms, we got basically everything you need to work out. So we got a workout center with weights, dumbbells, machines, bench press, all that stuff. Everything you need to work out's in there. Also in there is we got an Olympic style training room. We also have several studios so that students can run, or student-run organizations can hold like events such as like group workouts and then other things like that. So if you want to go work out in like a large group, you can go there on like certain weekdays. I know they have like Rise and Grind every morning at like 6 a.m., which I'm not getting up at 6 a.m., but they got events like that. And basically, it benefits college students, and the staff that work at college will be the ones that benefit from that. So the next would be nonprofit. So obviously that'd be the YMCA would be the greatest example. So nonprofit, basically they're not for profit, and they usually provide recreation for members, because you usually have to be subscribed to that. Well, not subscribed, but more of just a membership. You have to have like a membership to be able to access their services. So at least for the Y, I know I personally have a Y pass. I'm sure a lot of you guys probably do as well. So I can go into the YMCA, just give them my card, they scan it, and then I go in there, and then I have access to all their facilities. And they provide tons of facilities. That's not the only example of nonprofit. There's tons of other ones, but that's just the easiest one that relates to a lot of you guys, and you guys have probably heard of the YMCA. If you haven't, I don't know what to say, that you've probably been living under a rock, but the YMCA is probably the greatest example of nonprofit. And then obviously there's commercial, so for-profit recreation. Anytime that you go to a sporting event, whether it be a Brewers game at Miller Park in Milwaukee, it costs money to get into the game. It costs money to park. It costs money for food. All of that money is charged because they're trying to make a profit. So there's a big difference between nonprofits and for-profits. Nonprofits are not necessarily trying to make a profit. They're just trying to have enough money to pay off their utility costs. Whereas for-profit, they're trying to make as much money as possible. So that's why when you go to a Brewer game or like a Cubs game or something like that, you go and look at the stadium pricing for food. That's why everything is ridiculously overpriced, because they're trying to make as much money as possible. They charge you like $7 for a hot dog when it probably only cost them like 50 cents to make. So really, it's straight profit. So just keep that in mind as to the difference between the two. And then one other type of recreation that I did not mention is military recreation, military and armed force recreation. So that would be recreation based for members of the armed forces and their families. And a great example that I can think of is just any. I actually forgot the name of the camp off the top of my head, but there's a camp actually in Colorado where they're providing tons and tons and tons of recreation opportunities for military members and their families. And it's just, we watched a video about it in class, and it was just really interesting to see all of these services are providing for the military and their families. So those are the different kinds of recreation. But then the reason why I wanted to come into RPTA is because not only there's recreation in those areas, but there's also outdoor recreation, which is what I want to focus on. And so outdoor recreation occurs more in places like national parks, state parks, local parks. Basically, anything that involves being outside is considered outdoor recreation. And so what I hope to eventually become is a outdoor education specialist, and I want to teach outdoor education classes in like a state or a national park. That would be my goal. And also I want to minor in outdoor leadership. So ECO is an entire minor that consists of going out in the field basically for an entire semester, and you just go to a bunch of random national parks that the students pick. So it's completely student run. And so you go to these national parks and you do a bunch of field classes, basically getting real outdoor leadership and education experience. So ECO actually stands for Environmental Conservation and Outdoor Education Expedition. And I'm actually going to apply for that. And I personally think that because you have to apply for it to get into it, because only about a dozen or so students go a semester. So I feel like I'm a very good candidate for that because I've been on several high adventure trips with the Boy Scouts of America. I've been to Boundary Waters twice, and I've been to summer camp. I enjoy camping. I love being outside, and I've just always wanted to do something outdoors. So that's one of the reasons why I want to get a job, teaching people things out in like a national park or something like that. So the one thing that I think is very interesting about this major is that if you look at like tourism and hospitality, those two are kind of interrelated because those are actually both included in RPTA. So if you look at things like hotels, those would be considered a for-profit business profiting on the tourism sector of RPTA. Now, tourism is actually, there's a lengthy definition about it, but to sum it up, it's considered anybody who is traveling just anywhere basically for I think it's longer than 24 hours is what it says in the book, and up to but no longer than 1 year, and you're traveling for it's not for business purposes, but there's a whole lengthy definition about it. So basically anybody that's traveling between longer than 24 hours and less than a year, anybody that's traveling is considered a tourist. So tourism is a very large sector of RPTA because it involves so many different aspects of just what we do on a regular basis. Anytime you go driving, out of state, like if you, let's just say that you've never been to Idaho or something. So let's just say you happen to drive from Montana to Idaho, and so you don't have a map, and let's just say your phone's dead, so you can't use your phone map. So you go into the Idaho, like the Idaho Welcome Center, and there's usually a person at the desk there that can tell you where you are, and they work in usually travel centers, and they tell you where you are. They give you a map, and usually those are the kind of people that have taken RPTA classes, because it can allow you to get jobs in like a welcome center, or like a travel center, or an information center about like states, and as far as tourism goes. So anytime you're traveling, it's considered tourism. And then that also goes back to for profit. Hotels are definitely for profit. If you look at, they're charging you per night, and some actually charge you for food. Others have free breakfast, which is just a more of just a come stay at this hotel. This is a benefit for staying at this hotel kind of thing. But I think it's very interesting. And then hospitality is also interrelated with tourism, because hospitality goes a long way when you're trying to reach out and do things for tourists. So hospitality is a key to RPTA. So that's just a little bit of some information about RPTA, what it is, why I personally chose it. Just to remind everybody, is I want to be a outdoor education specialist, and I want to teach people things about, outdoor like just out educate people on the outdoors. And I want to minor in outdoor leadership, which again is ECO, which stands for Environmental Conservation and Outdoor Education Expedition, which is ECO for short. And that basically you just go out in backcountry for an entire semester doing a bunch of field classes. So this is a very unique major, I think, because all of these jobs that you get benefits somebody in some way. That's what I think is really rewarding about being able to be a part of RPTA. It's a professional driven career where you're benefiting people on a daily basis. That is what I like the most about this major. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate all the support. I know I'm kind of doing a lot of the same kind of videos where I'm just explaining stuff, but it's kind of hard to come up with new content ideas, especially when I'm not really a vlog YouTuber, so I'm just getting started with it now. So I'm really not doing that bad. So I really appreciate all your support. If you guys can leave me a comment down below, let me know how I'm doing. I really appreciate all of that. Also, drop a like if you enjoyed, and please consider subscribing if you haven't already. I know these videos are probably kind of boring to a lot of you guys, but a lot of you guys also wanted to see these kind of things. So it's kind of, I'm not going to make everybody happy, but anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and have a great day.